Michigan legislature here. Thank you for joining us. So I want to talk about what we can do. First, I want to make sure that we secure a bipartisan roads deal. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Second, working together to build more affordable housing all across the state. And third, support innovation to create jobs and make sure that we lead the future. First, let's talk about those damn roads. Everyone has a perspective on why our roads are in bad shape, who's to blame, and what the obvious solution is that everyone else seems to be missing. We all know that everyone's got an opinion. But I hope I can offer a little bit of history and maybe some answers here. In 1997, our highways were in bad shape. Governor Engler understood the problem. He knew that businesses needed high-quality infrastructure and that bad roads slow down a growing economy. Ultimately, the legislature passed and Governor Engler signed a plan that invested less than half of what they knew that was needed to actually fix the problem. But they did what they thought was doable. In the short term, it worked. By 2007, most state roads were in good or fair condition, but just 5 years later, they were worse than before, because they had baked chronic underinvestment into the law. Only about 17% of the $2.85 billion raised from 1997 to 2012 went to major road and business investments. Half went to local governments and the rest went towards paying off loans and routine maintenance. My predecessor, Governor Snyder, recognized the issue. In 2015, he negotiated and signed a $1.2 billion road funding package. It wasn't perfect, but it was a step in the right direction. It brought in new revenue and made calculated fiscal moves to try and fill the gap. But even those two leaders at the time knew that their solutions weren't going to fix the problem. Governor Snyder said it was a down payment, and Senate Majority Leader at the time, Arlen Meekhoff, a West Sider, called it a good start. When I decided to run for governor and traveled all across our state prior to the 2018 election, I heard over and over again throughout that campaign, when I was in all 83 counties, that it was the fundamentals that were broken, including our roads. People wanted to be able to go to work, to drop off their kids at school, run errands safely without popping a tire or cracking their windshield. In 2020, I launched Rebuilding Michigan. It was a 5-year bond plan to fix our busiest highways and bridges. Now, the projects that we've funded are vital to our economy and already have made a huge difference, including here on the west side. Full rebuilds of 31 and 131, 96 and 196, big projects making millions of trips every year smoother and safer for Michiganders. I'm especially proud that these are long-term upgrades. We're rebuilding highways with the right mix and materials so that they're built to last, not just putting another thin layer over, filling potholes, but rebuilding. As I said in my State of the State, however, the Rebuilding Michigan program was a short-term fix for a long-term problem. Like the deals in 1997 and 2015, it's not enough. If we don't act soon, we're going to fly off of the funding cliff of Rebuilding Michigan. So while we've made progress on major state roads, local roads are lacking and lagging. The ratio of dollars our cities need for local roads versus the amount they get is startling. Here in Grand Rapids, it's 5-1. In Kalamazoo, it's 13-1. In Holland, it's 17-1. And in Muskegon, it's 56-1. So our roads are the foundation not only of our economy, but also so much of our daily lives. When the roads are broken, businesses suffer as shipments and supplies are delayed more often and workers face longer commutes. Bad roads cost people money. Drivers in Grand Rapids pay an average of $2,300 a year because of them, for alignments or to fix busted tires and rims. A reliable transportation network means that deliveries show up on time and families feel more confident putting down roots. We all want to live in communities where our kids' school bus won't bust a tire and be stuck on the side of the road. We don't want our teenagers who are just learning how to drive to be swerving to avoid potholes either. We need first responders to get where they need to go fast. And like Bridget Bonds, a woman who I frequently talk about, a mom from Flint, who told me just fix the damn roads when I met her at a children's hospital. We all want to be able to visit our loved ones in the hospital. When our roads work well, our communities are stronger and our economy grows faster. And when they're not, people on the margins are the ones who suffer the most. We need a sustainable long-term solution on state and local roads. And this week, my team is working closely with the Senate Democrats, led by your phenomenal Senator Winnie Brinks here, to talk about where our shared priorities are and what's possible. I want to acknowledge that the House leadership, Speaker Hall, has been engaged on this issue too. We all have our own vision of how this could work. None is perfect, but there is plenty of common ground to be found. I think that we agree that every penny that drivers pay at the pump, they expect it to be going to roads, and we should probably make sure that it does. And I think that we can cut red tape to find savings as well. But I want to note two key points of contrast. Number one, I don't think we should take money away from public safety or affordable housing to pay for roads. And number two, I don't think we should stop competing against other states and nations to bring jobs back home to Michigan. We got to build up our advanced manufacturing economy, and we've got to be able to be competitive to do that. We don't have the luxury of solving one problem at a time. No business has that luxury either. We got to protect public safety, create good jobs, and fix more roads all at the same time. So to do this right, we'll all have to recognize some tough things. We need people on both sides of the aisle in every part of the state to be a part of the solution. To my friends on the Republican side of the aisle, I have continued to say that fixing roads in the long term means that we're going to have need new resources to help with that. To my fellow Democrats, I have acknowledged many times we're also going to need to tighten our belts and find savings in the budget. We all have to be a part of the solution. And to my partners in this room and businesses across Michigan, we've got to all continue to make sure that we don't just put this on the backs of few, where we all need to be a part of the solution. Every one of us benefits from a strong bipartisan road plan. So will your employees, your customers, and your communities. So I hope you make your voices heard as we are going into this next phase of the legislature, where we're negotiating budgets, we're negotiating our plan for the future, and we'll be negotiating on what could be a great roads plan. If we compromise, I'm confident that we can deliver a strong roads deal. So that is number one. Number two, I want to talk about housing. Another big statewide priority that I have been focusing on and that I listed in my State of the State earlier this year is housing. Across the West Side, we're facing serious supply crunch of quality, affordable units. Kent County alone needs over 35,000 more units by 2027, including 14,000 here in downtown Grand Rapids. Across Michigan, the State Housing Development Authority, MSHDA, estimated that we're short nearly 190,000 units at the start of 2024. That's last year. Today, thanks to the hard work of people in this room and across Michigan, that shortage is down by 50,000. So we are making big strides, but as you can see, our goals are huge. We've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time because we're pursuing our proven 3-point strategy: build, baby, build. Since I took office, we've made the largest investments in building housing in our history, 3 years in a row. This year, with your support, we can build on this momentum. MSHDA will keep shattering their own records, once again making the largest investment to build housing. And they'll continue successful programs to help first-generation homebuyers pay up to $10,000 of their down payment, lower mortgage interest rates by 1% for middle-class families, and work directly with employers to build housing for their workers. If we don't act, the progress that we have made is really at risk. Right now, some of the tools we use to build housing could expire. We need a legislature to continue the commitment, continuing dedicated sources of funding for housing. We also need to expand our successful bipartisan work on transformational brownfields. This funding has helped local governments and developers turn abandoned, blighted sites into vibrant new housing and commercial space. I want to highlight 2 projects in the city. First, the project to turn a parking lot along the riverfront into 3 high-rise towers with hundreds of apartments, condos, office space, a hotel, and retail space. And second, the Factory Yards project on Godfrey Avenue, which will include hundreds of apartments, a food hall, green space, and more. Let's double down on what's working to make it easier to build here in Michigan. Together, we can tackle the housing shortage, lower the cost of buying or renting, and give more people a shot at the American dream. And finally, I want to talk about innovation. I've already spoken about roads and housing, 2 fundamentals that underpin the strength of our economy. When we fix roads and we build housing, people have the freedom that they need, not only to live well, but to take risks. They can start a small business or pursue their big idea. They're surrounded by others who want to do the same. Over time, that mix of ambition and entrepreneurial zeal leads to more innovation, more jobs, more prosperity, and more growth. It's the oldest cycle in human history. When you bring people together and meet their basic needs, magic happens. But why does this work? Well, the answer is as sweet as it is simple. We need each other. We do our best work when we're surrounded by potential collaborators or competition. We also know that cities have gravity. There's a reason the best tech companies in the world are all within an hour's drive of one another in Northern California. It's the people. At their best, cities are hotspots for talent where people can live well as they create and innovate. And when they start to succeed, they become self-sustaining. Growth begets growth. In other words, it's magic. If you want proof, look at your own history, right? When Dutch immigrants came to West Michigan seeking a better life, they found abundance of space and resources. From humble beginnings, this city became a powerhouse of industry. In the late 1800s to the early 1900s, nearly 1 in 3 workers in Grand Rapids were making furniture. The density of talent led to all kinds of innovation and entrepreneurship. Grand Rapids craftsmen were constantly learning from and competing against each other. To this day, West Michigan names like Herman Miller, Steelcase, Hayworth are synonymous with top quality and peak design. Thanks to its strong early start as a hub of craftsmanship, people in Grand Rapids were never afraid to be on the cutting edge. So many important products came from Grand Rapids: canned baby food, cast saws, electric hospital beds, snowboards, cat litter, and countless craft beers. I gotta tell you, growing up in this area, I never would have imagined Grand Rapids would market itself as Beer City. The city was home to America's first hydroelectric plant in 1881. The first city to put fluoride in its drinking water, improving dental health of millions of people in 1945. Home to the first superstore, thanks to Meyer, in 1962, and the first NEA-funded art installation in 1969. Grand Rapids is a city of firsts because it encourages entrepreneurship and nurtures innovation. Today, the spirit of innovation is alive and well across the West Side. The Start Garden has an entrepreneur in residence program so startups can access the financial, intellectual, and social capital that they need to grow and to thrive. The Applied Medical Device Institute at GVSU focuses on bringing medical device ideas to market with intellectual property support and mentorship. MSU's Grand Rapids Innovation Park brings people from different industries together to collaborate on licensing, manufacturing, distribution, commercialization of healthcare innovations. Over in Holland, the Next Center downtown offers space for high-tech, high-growth startups seeking to commercialize their big idea. We added new bipartisan tools like the R&D tax credit and our new innovation fund to help lower costs of entrepreneurship, research, and development. In the years ahead, I'm confident we'll foster growth in cutting-edge industries like medical devices and financial services to AI and so much more right here on the West Side. This really is the place to be, and people agree, and they're voting with their feet. West Michigan's seen remarkable growth over the last decade, with counties here leading population growth. Grand Rapids has been a real standout. The metro area has grown 6.1% over the last decade, reaching 1.1 million people. including 40,000 tech workers and a higher share of young people compared to the rest of the country. The retention rate for local grads is impressive too. Of the 10,000 or so college grads in this area every year, about 8,000 stay and start their careers in Grand Rapids. It's pretty remarkable. All the progress that's happening here and across the West Side is at risk if we don't work together to deliver on the fundamentals: housing, roads. As governor, I'm not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let us fall backward and lose this progress. I'll keep working with all of you to make Michigan not just a place to go, but the place to go. Fixing roads, building more parks, public spaces, and third places so people can build community. Building more housing while doubling down on our downtowns, which are critical to attract and retain young people who want to be around other young people. Together, we can unleash a power of innovation and create more opportunities and ideas to bloom, and yes, for the magic to happen. As I close, I just want to say this. I was lucky enough to grow up on the West Side. You can see they love to torture me, my team. It was the 80s, and that was a cool hairdo, I promise. As a young woman, I always had a strong sense of possibility. I knew I could chase my dreams because of the strong academic and personal foundations that the communities in which I grew up afforded me. I had no idea that one day I would become governor. But looking back, it's clear that my approach in office is informed so much by the practical, no-nonsense ethos and innovative spirit of the West Side. You take Herman Miller, for example. On their website, under the What We Believe, their mission statement reads as follows: solutions that stand the test of time always start and end with people. I like that. That same philosophy has guided the work that I do as well. I'm focused on getting things done that make a real difference in people's lives. That's what it's all about. I hope I've lived up to the legacy of the West Side that reaches back to the days when my own ancestors probably came to Michigan to build their futures. As we move forward, let's stay focused on solving problems. Let's deliver solutions that stand the test of time and always, always center our work around the people. That's what it's all about. Thank you so much for your time today and all you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Great comments. I'm excited that your priorities are so aligned with ours. Roads, innovation, housing, all things that we're working on here at the Grand Rapids Chamber. So we look forward to working with you on that. I have a question kind of at the end, tying into what you were talking about at the end and what's happening here in West Michigan, the vibrancy that you mentioned. What do you think the folks in Lansing could learn from what's happening here? And maybe, how does growing up here influence your decision-making?
Yeah, like I said, I feel lucky that I grew up here. I moved here when I was 10 years old, and the not living on the west side of the state for the better part of my life. I went to Michigan State and stayed in the Lansing area. I really think that this is a special place. The community that comes together that tries to solve problems. I'll tell you, I've also hired pollsters who often recognize that when they do focus groups on the west side of the state, everyone shows up early, which maybe that's where I get my pathological punctuality from, but I appreciate that. But no, seriously, I think that one of the great things about this community is that there's a sense of community, and it's really grown since I lived here. I mean, I left when I was 18, so I don't know that I was real steeped in community. I was growing up, I was a kid, but as an adult, as a leader, I think that the way that this community comes together and sees problems and works together and doesn't get, it's a very bipartisan community now. And I think that that's a great strength. If you've got a real focus and understanding of where you want to go, you can find common ground. And I think that's part of what I'm trying to make sure we stay focused on in Lansing, where so much of the politics today is gets so ugly and toxic. Our job is not to feed into that, but to find where our common ground is and what is possible. And I think I learned that growing up here. And I think that's a special part of why West Michigan is a unique and wonderful place.
I agree with with you.
Yeah, thank you.
So much for your time today. We appreciate you coming over and meeting with our business community and elected officials.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.